evening. Welcome to the February 3rd, 2025 meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. At this time, I would like to welcome our new members, Jason Blessinger, Kevin Hernandez, and Olive Bailey. Would each of you like to tell us a little bit about yourselves? And we'll start with Jason.
All right. My name is Jason Blessinger. I've been a resident at Roseville for the last 10 years. I currently teach at Sac State in the Recreation, Parks and Tourism Department. I'm really happy to be here.
Wonderful. Kevin?
My name's Kevin Hernandez, and I have lived in Roseville 20 years this year, actually. And I'm the current marketing director at Denios Farmers Market and Swap Meet.
And Olive.
Hi, I'm Olive Bailey. I'm currently a sophomore at West Park High School, and I've lived in Roseville all my life, and I'm super excited to be here.
Welcome to all three of you. Will the staff secretary call the roll, please?
Nick Alexander.
Here.
Olive Bailey.
Here.
Jason Blessinger.
Here.
Renee Borowiak.
Here.
Kevin Hernandez.
Here.
Sandra Pollock-Cushing.
Here.
Regina Sojek.
Here.
And Jeff Short.
Here.
Okay, so we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Pollock-Cushing, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Of course.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. Will the secretary read the procedures for addressing the Parks and Recreation Commission tonight?
Citizens addressing the commission during public comment are asked to approach the podium and are limited to 3 minutes unless extended by the chair. It must be regarding items that are not listed on the agenda and are within the city jurisdiction. The Brown Act does not permit any action or discussion on items not listed on the agenda. No action will be taken on items addressed under public comment.
Okay, we will now open for public comment. Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comments. We're going to move on to minutes. Next on the agenda is the approval of the draft meeting minutes of the December 2nd, 2024 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. Are there any questions or comments from the commission about?
I have a comment, and that's on 6.4 park name recommendations. And I made the motion with regard to Rocky Rockholm Park, but I had some specific language that we name it in the memory of the late Rocky Rockholm. So if we just add that phrase, that was my motion. Other than that, I'm fine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Any other questions or comments from the commission? Is there a motion to approve?
Make the motion to approve as amended.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Moving on to reports, requests and presentations. Next on the agenda is item 6.1, appointment of 2025 chair and vice chair to the Parks and Recreation Commission. Jill Geller.
Commissioners, I'm Jill Geller, your Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Director, and it is time once again for the Parks and Recreation Commission to take action to appoint a chair and vice chair for the upcoming year. Per the city's boards and commissions administrative standards, the individuals you choose tonight will be seated at the next meeting. So our current chair will continue her role through the conclusion of tonight's meeting. There are no limitations on the number of consecutive terms a commissioner may serve as chair or vice chair, provided they're appointed or reappointed to the commission. It's typically been this commission's practice to select the current vice chair to move into the role of chair, but again, that is not a requirement. Also, per the city's administrative standards, youth commissioners are not eligible to serve as chair or vice chair. So my 10 and I are happy to answer any additional questions you might have. And at this time, I'll turn it back over to Chair Borowiak to lead the discussion and your selection of the 2025 chair and vice chair for the commission.
Thank you, Jill. Okay, I'll open it to the commission for comment.
I wouldn't mind being considered for vice chair. I was just reappointed for a 2-year term, so that would allow me to potentially chair for my last year for the final year of my commission.
Well, as the vice chair, if it's the commission's pleasure, I would be happy to be the chair if it's up to, again, it's up to the commission.
I was trying to find out who was vice chair, so.
I know, Sandra, you've served in both chair and vice chair since I've been on the commission. And Regina, I believe
I
you
was
have?
before, the year
Yeah.
before her.
My only question would be, Jeff, because you have not, the other 3 are new, do you have any interest in being vice chair?
Happy to do it.
Okay. Not to, just trying to spread the wealth a little bit, give somebody opportunity. Any other commission comments? Then we're going to open it up for public comment.
No, so you wouldn't open up public comment for this. This is mainly just a discussion and then an eventual motion should there be a nomination on the floor.
Okay, we're not going to then, right? That's fine. Okay. Okay, so do we have a motion to,
Well, so currently there are 2 individuals who have expressed interest in becoming a vice chair, so other folks can chime in, or there could be a 3rd nomination, and then, or you can eventually take a motion. Well, there needs to be kind of a direction one way or the other between 2
Formal
potential
motion?
candidates. Yeah.
formal motions? Okay.
Do we do them individually?
Well, there.
The chair and
Yes,
vice
you'll
chair?
do them individual. Well, you can do them together, but it's cleaner to do it individually. But as to the vice chair, there are currently 2
Correct, yeah.
interested individuals, and so we have to kind of decide.
No, yeah,
decide
no, I
there.
was talking about chair, vice chair, yeah. Okay. I'll move to nominate Nick Alexander for chair.
Thank you.
Okay, I would second that motion. I can second, correct? Okay, I would second that motion.
I accept.
So
Vote on that?
then we are going to take a vote. All in favor for Commissioner Alexander to be our new chair? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I
Abstain?
abstain, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, so we have our new commissioner, our new chairperson. Does anybody want to make a motion for vice chair?
Well, Jeff, you have another term after, right? So that
Well,
was my-
remember, this body
Right.
ceases to exist after next year, so.
Yeah.
You know, Chair, if I may, I would like to nominate Jeff Short as vice chair.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a first and a second for Commissioner Short for vice chair. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And abstain.
No, I'll vote for myself.
Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jill. Next on the agenda is 6.2, pickleball discussion. Tara G.
Good evening. I'm Tara G., your Park Planning and Development Manager. And based on the December meeting under public comment, it was requested that we bring this topic up at our next commission meeting. So today is that next meeting. As a brief overview, according to USA Pickleball, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in the U.S. In 2023, 13.6 million people were estimated to play pickleball. This is a 51.8% increase since 2020. It is said that pickleball could potentially be an Olympic sport in 2032. Pickleball, while in its early years was mostly played by older active adult community, is now expanding to all demographics. The largest growing age group, interestingly enough, is between 35 and 40 years old. According to USTA, tennis remains popular. In 2023, there were 23.84 million players playing across the country. This represents a 33% growth since 2021. This growth stretches across a variety of communities, with participation growing amongst Hispanic, Latino players, and African American players. These percentages are 105% for the Hispanic Latino community and 63% for the African American players over the past 5 years. Tennis, as you know, is an international sport and is already an Olympic sport. So both of these sports have a high participation growth over the recent years. These sports are inclusive to a larger variety of demographics and age groups. There's a need for more court space for both sports, and they both desire single-use courts, not courts that are dually marked for playing on, both tennis and pickleball on the same court. We hear from both tennis and pickleball players that Roseville needs more courts, and both sports provide a positive impact to health and wellness, both physically as well as mentally and socially. Currently, Roseville's inventory includes 20 pickleball courts, counting the soon-to-be renovated courts at Woodbridge, which will add 1 court to the inventory of pickleball courts, and then 21 courts after Woodbridge, and that will take 1 tennis court away. So this is the approved master plan for the courts at Gibson Park. The dark green box outlined in red is our first phase of the park, which, as you know, includes 9 pickleball courts. The smaller green box indicates 3 additional pickleball courts to be constructed in a future phase. The 2 blue boxes indicate future tennis for a total of 10 courts, and the lighter gray box indicates basketball courts, with the darker gray indicating the parking lot. As you can see, we have a long way to go in completing this park. As with all citywide parks, these are built in phases and as funding allows. We recognize that Gibson has more of a demand on pickleball, and that within the city we are seeing a higher number of pickleball players than tennis at our public courts at the moment. At any point in time, this can change. As of now, it is unknown when we will have sufficient funds to build the second phase and which type of courts this phase will include. This is a good discussion and one that we will continue to have. When we are able to secure funding for a second phase, we will evaluate which sports trends and popularity are present at the time the phase can move forward. The projection for phase 2, just so you have a sense of the dollars that are involved with it, we just finished phase 1, and that was over $5 million. We would seek to have a second phase with the same amount, but we need to consider that 2 or 3 years from now, maybe even 5, cost of construction goes up. So it will take a lot more than $5 million to build a second phase. Depending on the economy, this will make the projections a little bit out there. And so we will continue to monitor both the trends, who's playing what at the time we're ready to build. And because of that, and because we don't have the funding currently to build a second phase, we'll continue to monitor the trends of both pickleball and tennis and make a decision when funding allows. In closing, according to Matt Swenson, he is a sports journalist for Connect Sports. The future of racket sports is bright. The rise of pickleball signals a growing interest in racket sports as a whole. More than threatening the dominance of tennis or other racket sports, it appears to be encouraging more participating and creating a broader community for racket sports enthusiasts. This trend suggests a brighter future for all racket sports. As the public interest continues to diversify, sports clubs and organizations can seize the opportunity to cross-promote and introduce newcomers to a variety of games. The surge of pickleball popularity is not a competition, but is a chance to expand the love of racket sports to more people. So again, this is an information item. There's no action being sought tonight from the commission. And this concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. We'll open it to the commission for comment.
I've got some. Just out of curiosity, because I know we've converted tennis courts to pickleball in the past, what's the cost difference between a kind of creating a pickleball court from scratch versus converting an existing tennis court? And kind of along with that is there any demographic areas within the city that does not have pickleball courts at the moment? And would that be something to be considered?
Well, I'll answer the last question first.
that's fine.
We do try to spread out the pickleball courts throughout geographically. We've got some in Crab Park on the east, and we've got some at Rikuchi Park on the west, and everything in between. So we do, because we can't be all things to all people, we try to provide access geographically so people have the opportunity. Fortunately, Gibson Park is right in the center of the city, so that made it a good location to have a complex like we have in the Gibson Park site. So far as cost to convert, right now we're working on Woodbridge Park, which has 2 tennis courts and a couple of pickleball overlays. To convert that, it's going to cost us about $350,000 to create 2 courts out of 1 tennis court space and maintain another tennis court. One of the things we try to do with everything is to find balance. If you invest too much here and not enough there, you do have great swings in trends and who plays what. So we're very mindful to maintain that balance and access throughout the city.
Can I ask one follow-up? Is there any funding differences depending on the location? Because some parks are funded differently than others.
Yeah,
Does that change how they're funded if you were trying to add a pickleball somewhere?
Funding is really dependent on the area. So for neighborhood parks, we do have pickleball in some of the neighborhood parks, but we do need to be mindful of that because it's loud. And in a neighborhood park, there are definitely residents living right next to the park. So while we do have a couple of pickleball courts within neighborhood parks, they're selected very carefully. For example, Rokuchi doesn't have a lot of neighbors sharing the same property line. The back of it opens up to or connects up to open space. So, it made that a great opportunity. Funding is very different. Right now, I will tell you, I'll be very honest, neighborhood park development right now is struggling. We set these prices or our fees to support development, and we'll be lucky to develop 2 to 3 acres of a 6-acre site. So pickleball from scratch is much more expensive than $350. Again, we built 9 for over $5 million. That being said, we put lights in. The parking lot luckily was there. Pickleball, you need a restroom. Restrooms are typically not built in neighborhood parks, and so the neighborhood park fund is probably not the best funding source for pickleball. Now, Central Park, Crab Park, they're all citywide parks. And the courts at Gibson is also a citywide park. Funding is different there as well. West Roseville has their own citywide park fund, cannot use that outside of West Roseville. Sierra Vista has its own citywide park fund, cannot use that outside of Sierra Vista. So that leaves what we call general citywide park funds, and those are it's taking longer to build those up because we've spent the money on, Crab Park, Central Park, Maidu Park, Mahaney Park, and again, those all were built over the process of 10, 20 years in several phases. So it takes longer to build up a citywide park fund than it does a neighborhood park.
That was going to be my follow-up question. Is this a citywide park or is it a North Central Park? So I guess it's a citywide park.
It is,
and it would be funded by the citywide park fee, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And and you said the cash flow on that is? It's
coming in, so
Yeah.
not as quickly as like West Roseville or Sierra Vista who are developing right now. Because if you think about anything east of Fitiment, a lot of it's already built. So there's little pockets of areas that still have some, but it's, most of the city, again, east of Fitiment has been constructed with residential units already. And it's residential units that support the citywide park development fund.
So and again, I'm not sure how many units are remaining in the North Central plan, citywide park units, but that'd be an interesting question.
Yeah, I know that the neighborhood park fund's not growing in North Central, so my connection there is that in North Central, it's mostly built out.
Okay, that's all I have.
Is there generally, do players have to wait at Gibson Park to get court time, or in general, are those, is there just a backlog of people waiting to get to play pickleball at like certain times, like on the weekends and things like that, where we're just not able to meet the demand for the people who are showing up?
Yeah, there's certainly peak times for sure. If you look throughout the week, if you get there early in the morning, especially in the summertime, it's full. After work, it's full. During, I think the lowest time is around, noon to 2, 3, but it's still being used. So there's no denying the popularity of the pickleball courts over at Gibson. And we do have lots of people who come from out of the city to play as well. So, there's just across the region, or really across the nation, that there's a need for more pickleball courts. But again, we're trying to find that right balance. If you think about the need for any sport, whatever sport you're involved with, there's a need. So, pickleball players love pickleball courts, and BMX, bicycle riders need a bike park, and so on and so forth. Softball, baseball, you name it, whatever sport, there's a need.
And when people show up, they just, like the tennis courts, you're just kind of like hover to try to get a court? Or I was thinking, I don't know if there was some sort of like way to make a reservation system and potentially add that to one of our like gym fitness structures, where players have to maybe pay a small fee to have, almost make it like a membership. So that there would be like, scheduled times that you can make, know that you're going to get court 3 at, 2 p.m. on Tuesday, and, pay, like a membership fee to try to help us increase the revenue at the same time.
Yeah, it's always difficult on the programming side. One of the reasons why we know the trends is because we wanted to look into reservation times, but we didn't want to do reservations when everybody's there playing. It's a challenge, and in the middle of the day, while some people can play, again, when I mentioned the demographics, it's after work or before work time that is really popular. Now, again, it's not to say that during the day people aren't using the courts. They absolutely are. So, trying to find time to accommodate everybody. It's just, we have 9 courts right now, and, frankly, no money to build more.
Well, that's why I was thinking maybe of trying to link it to like the Mahaney Fitness Center, where, or Meg Shalita, where you do pay something to access those services, just as a way to maybe help us build more courts down the road, just kind of recoup some of that revenue. So that was just a thought.
And Tara, I might add that, and some of the people that are here tonight can share better than I can, that pickleball players are very polite, and we do have rules that when people are waiting, your time on the courts are limited, and so I think they're very good about accommodating people that are waiting. They're not staying on the court for hours when we have a lot of people there waiting, but they can tell you more about that than I can.
Yeah, and you can also run into problems, people not showing up for the reservation times.
Well,
And
that's
it's an
why.
open
Well,
court
that's why I
and no one's
figured if there was
using
a
it.
small fee attached to it, then people
Who's
would
gonna
be more
regulate it?
encouraged to show up. Like linking it to like with the fitness membership at Mahaney or something like that.
Yeah, if you have it at like an indoor court, I can see that.
Yeah.
Outdoor courts, how are you going to regulate or know if anybody showed up at all?
It is difficult because to your point, we don't have staff out there monitoring the courts itself, and we do offer reservations, so it's not that it's not there.
Couple of thoughts. Given the success that we've had with Placer Valley Tourism Soccer Complex, is there an opportunity to perhaps generate some funding at Gibson through sponsorships? I know that Lifetime Fitness held a big tournament, so I know that there is economic opportunity associated with pickleball. Is that something that you've considered or explored?
Oh, yeah.
Good. Good.
If somebody wants to come to us, we're happy to talk with them.
Okay, good. I think that's fantastic. And then I am nervous to ask this question, given the people in the room, but I've only played either sport a few times. Is there an opportunity to maximize the uses of both types of courts? I think about like a basketball court and a volleyball court that has different colored lines, but both lines are on both courts. Is that a possibility? Is that something that people do, or am I about to get, murdered?
I will share with you the challenges of sharing a court space. Court markings and layouts, you've got lots of lines going all over, and as you just heard, not anyone's favorite. The net heights are different. Mm-hmm. So to be able to play like one pickleball on top of a tennis overlay, you've got to cinch down the net.
Got it.
People do it, but it puts a lot of wear and tear on the equipment. The surface wear and tear for both, it's going to wear out more because of that dual use. And keep in mind, pickleball is very social. So, when people are waiting and, their turn, it's a very social game. So you could be there as a group for a very long time if nobody's waiting. There's always scheduling conflicts. The opportunity the popularity of pickleball has led to increased demand on court time, and then player safety. They're very, while they're both on the court, it's very different. Being able to play at tennis, one example is that you can play, how do I describe this? In pickleball, you can go to the other side and hit back over the net, where in tennis, you just stay on your own side. Mm-hmm. So it's just very different, even though appearance-wise, it's more. Now, I know some of these folks will elaborate or can elaborate more. I just know because I have a pickleball husband at home.
Just trying to find creative ways to maximize our court ability. The other, and really more of a statement, I had a question going into the presentation that you surprised me with. I was going to ask about whether or not pickleball was kind of cannibalizing the tennis audience, but it sounds like the cross-promotion is actually growing both sports, which is, I don't know, I found that surprising and notable and positive. So.
Yeah, a lot of tennis players are now playing pickleball.
Makes sense.
A lot of people who never played racket sports are playing pickleball. Mm-hmm. So there's a good mix of both. But
it sounds like from the presentation that, they're playing pickleball and kind of getting the taste for racket sports and also trying out tennis now as well. So that's
there's
awesome.
Definitely a cross-pollination of racket sports.
Very cool. Thank you.
Any other commissioner comments? Okay. Okay, we will open it up to public comment.
I'm Mike Barnes. I've been a Roseville resident for the last 26 years. I want to thank the commission for supporting the pickleball community. I want to thank Jill for taking the time a couple weeks ago to speak with me. Thank Tara for getting the agenda item on, and my pickleball friends and supporters here for coming to the meeting. We're here tonight to try to influence and encourage you to make an adjustment to the Gibson Park Master Plan and complete a build-out, specifically to reduce the number of tennis courts and increase the number of pickleball courts. Pickleball, to go on what Tara had done, I looked at the 2024 USA Pickleball report, and pickleball now, for the 4th consecutive year, is the fastest growing sport in America. In fact, it's grown 223.5% in the last 4 years. Local businesses recognize and have embraced the growth trend. Johnson Ranch added a pickleball-only complex. Recently, I went to an event there. I spoke to the GM, direct quote from him. "It's the best decision we've ever made." And I was like, wow, okay. I'd like to hear that. Lifetime has eliminated some of their tennis courts and replaced them with pickleball courts. Electric Pickle, you know, is coming in. I don't think it's a direct compete. It's going to be like Top Golf. I don't think they're a direct compete to a golf course. They're not going to be a direct compete to our pickleball. Will still be nice to have. So they recognize that Roseville is a hot spot for pickleball. Pickleball Kingdom, it's a new franchise that's coming into our area. The folks bought 5 franchises: Roseville, Rockland, Folsom, Elk Grove, and Sacramento. Who do you think their first spot is? Yeah, Roseville is targeted as they want to build their first spot here in Roseville. That's going to be an outdoor facility, outdoor texture, if you will, but climate control. So it'll be like it's a membership gym. YBA, they've added pickleball. They have 8 courts on their non-use hours because they saw a need for it. They're charging $50 a month, $45 a month. They're doing that. And of course, your own Mahaney Fitness Center has increased now their indoor days to 3 days per week. So there is a need. I think Tara said there is, but I'm just going to reinforce that there really is. Here's some numbers: 53, 0, 42, 38, 0, 80, 6, 46, 2. So first number, that's Gibson, our largest pickleball facility. The second number, that's Mahaney, our largest tennis facility. I have a couple other numbers: 60 and 30 and 55 and 20. The 60 and 30, that was in a daytime. The 30 were high school students. So I don't know that they wouldn't be going to Gibson because it's Wood Creek High School. The 55-20, there's a community of tennis players that play there regularly. We had 55 at the same time that they had 20 on an evening. I know you guys can use geofencing to review it and see how much there is there. Okay. I spoke to a member of that Mahaney tennis group today by chance. And I think they're the largest tennis community in Roseville. And I asked him, I said, I told him how many courts. First he said, no, that's way too many. I'm like, okay, what do you think? He goes, 6. I'm like, okay. That was just his number. I asked him, I said, are you guys going to come move over there because it's going to be the happening place? He said, we're unlikely to move from Mahaney. They like their spot. That group, the largest tennis group that I know of using the facilities, don't plan on moving their location. That doesn't mean that they won't, but he's also a tennis coach. He said he's now gone to pickleball coaching because he can't find any tennis students. So anyway, these are your active tennis court users. I hope that gives you a little bit of pause to rethink what we're doing out at Gibson. Sounds like that's a possibility anyway, with what you said, that as the time comes, that you're going to reevaluate it. I'm curious whether there's really compelling data that supports 10 tennis courts at Gibson. I wasn't around, I guess, for any of the meetings to understand what went into it, but I'd like to understand what that is. I hope the thought isn't that by building 10 tennis courts that we're going to revive tennis. And what I got from USTA was They increased 1% last year. Their 33% over 4 years makes sense, and they had 7%, but they had 1% growth last year. Okay. There were 2 professional pickleball events held last year in Roseville. There's already one scheduled this year. Building out Gibson to 18 pickleball courts opens the door to do something that I think you'd like to do, and that would be to host the Special Olympics here. It's the Northern California Special Olympics pickleball. We could also do primetime reservation without impacting. I know-
Sir?
Oh,
We're over your 5 minutes.
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
My name's Han Wang, and I just want to say that I support what he has just said. And there's typically 8 players or more waiting at the Gibson Park, even at 11 or 10 o'clock in the morning after everybody's gone to work. So there's definitely a high demand for it. And given the size of the number of players there, one of the biggest draws is that you can always show up, and then there's always going to be some players ready to play. However, those smaller courts may not necessarily benefit you unless you bring your own players. There's not going to be anybody, and hence everybody's going to Gibson. And so we definitely need more, possibly double the size and not as many tennis courts. If you go to Sun City, there's nobody in the tennis court, and I play over there in the pickleball course, and there's always somebody. So, thank you.
Hello, my name's Roger. I play pickleball, of course. I used to be a tennis player. I'm 72 years old now. Pickleball is for seniors. I kid you not. Look at the crowd. We're 40 plus. The point of pickleball, it is not as strenuous as tennis. I can play it without killing myself. Tennis, I'd have to run all over the place. It's twice as big. It's just not for seniors anymore. And of course, the senior population is probably one of our largest group of people in America. As well as I have a tennis court at the back. I've converted half of my tennis court to 2 pickleballs. So in other words, one tennis court can produce 4 pickleball courts for the same price, I'm assuming, because same surface, you're just drawing more lines, not expensive. Same, concrete, pouring, or even asphalt. So pickleball can be produced, I guess, 4 to 1. And that's all what else can I bring up? And I'm actually going to convert half my tennis court to pickleball, 2 courts. It's cost of $10,000 to resurface an existing tennis court to pickleball. Not millions. That's why, I don't know, I was surprised when you gave me the price. Okay, thank you.
Hey, my name's John Vick. I'm a pickleball junkie, much like what this crew is. And it's super cool that you guys are here and actually putting this on the agenda for today. It was really kind of interesting to sit here and listen to what people thought of pickleball if you're not a pickleball junkie like us, because this is kind of how we live our lives. Like, I bet you a show of hands, how many of you play at least 4 times a week? When I say 4 times a week, would you say at least 2.5 hours 4 times a week? Any of you play twice a day? Okay, so this is not just like occasional, like, show up and play tennis once a week kind of thing. Can you show up at Gibson and play with anybody anytime? Is there always people there? Is there always, I'm sorry I'm not allowed to ask you guys questions, so I'm asking these guys. If you guys go between 9 and noon and 5 at 10 at night, is the place absolutely packed and you have to wait every single time? Yes. Every single time. Well, if you were to go at 7 o'clock at night, is it reasonable that you would wait, say, 20, 25 minutes to play a game? Yes. We all take turns. It's just a simple rotation. You come up, you get the end. You play about 15 minutes, and then you wait another 20, 25 minutes to go back, right? So that's pretty reasonable, right? I know I'm running out of time, but my family and I'd love to go down there with my wife and kids in the evening after work, but it's just not feasible to go down there with a family of 4 if my kids are going to go, wait, I'm going to go there for an hour and a half and play 3 quick games? Like, that's just not feasible. But I think that the couple points that you're missing here, and I think Jeff alluded, huge difference between pickleball and tennis. One huge difference is barrier to entry. If you go down to Gibson, I beg you, like these statistics are super impressive. But your own eye test would go out there and go, okay, this place is packed and it's happening. You don't need the statistics about what's going around the world, around the country about pickleball. We're right here in Roseville. Go take a look at it. It's packed and people are waiting to play because it's fun and exciting, releases endorphins. And you go there and there are kids there. I mean, I've gone out there and played against like 9-year-old kids at 8 o'clock at night. It's a low barrier to entry. I bet you went out and played tennis and failed 3 times and go,
I haven't played tennis since high school.
I'm
so.
never, ever going to. If you play tennis, it takes years to get good at it. But in 5 minutes, you're having fun playing pickleball. And that's kind of, and it doesn't matter if you're old or young. I mean, we're all old here. Sorry, guys. But there are young people there. If you go out there, I'm not kidding. In the evenings, I would say the average age is under 30 at Gibson. Under 30. We are the old people that are there in the mornings. In the evenings, under 30 for sure. Lots of kids, a lot of parents bringing out their kids. I mean, those are the things that the city want to build upon. And I'm not here to cap on tennis, but as this other gentleman said, like at Rush Park, you can convert at least 3 pickleball courts for every 1 tennis court. So, I mean, if you were to go walk down and compare what's going on at Central of those tennis courts and compare and just take a 2-minute drive and walk over and compare what's going on in that same amount of space at Gibson, it's almost laughable. Because the cost of construction the difference is nil. They literally use the same surfaces, similar types of nets and that kind of thing, right? And I know we're all pickleball snobs because we play a lot. Could we play on a tennis court? Sure, but the net is much wider, so it's a completely different game. Part of pickleball is played around the outsides of the nets, which is why you really can't do that with a tennis court, right? And honestly, we don't want to go out there and disrupt the tennis ball community. We want to welcome them into the pickleball community, right? I mean, does anyone actually know a pickleball player that's ever moved to tennis? How many of you played with high-level tennis players that are now making the move to pickleball? So I understand there's trends, and I understand you're talking about how do we spend $5 million 5 years from now, and I understand you've got to kind of keep your finger on the pulse, but I encourage you to just go out there one night or one morning and just watch how people laugh. You know, it is a very social game, like you alluded, right? It's all part of the overall process. I pitched to take down some of the interior nets at Gibson because people like to look and see what other people are doing. They like to wave, hey, how you doing? Even on other courts and that kind of thing. It's just kind of the pickleball vibe. Anyhow, so, you know, thanks again. Whoever was in charge of building the facility is freaking awesome, right? It is. And now it's being used and used a lot. And it's not going anywhere. Ask our kids. If you know kids or grandkids and going to middle school, they're playing. I bet you have college. There are all sorts of high school kids that go out there in their groups and play. That's what you want to encourage, right? So, I mean, even if you were to take a handful of those tennis courts and take 1 tennis court and put 3 pickleball courts on there, I mean, they would get used. The last thing you want to do is, you know, you like go out to Oasis in Elk Grove where they have a pickleball court, pickleball courts right next to the empty tennis courts, and they just sit there and go, oh, why did the city do this, right? That's probably your biggest nightmare, is dumping a bunch of money into something that's not going to get used like the pickleball courts are. So thanks for your time, guys. I appreciate it. And come play with us, please.
Any other public comments?
Hello, my name is Frank. I just wanted to say that, I really enjoy pickleball, of course. But sometimes, especially in the summer, there's a long wait. I mean, there have been occasions where, when we get there, we paddle up sometimes, and there's room for maybe, 20 paddles there waiting to play. And sometimes they run out of room. I mean, there's that many people waiting to play. So, I mean, there's, 9 courts there. I mean, with having additional courts, it's going to reduce the waiting time because, I mean, it does get pretty busy there. Like the gentleman says, especially in the summertime, there's, the kids go out there, play with their parents. I mean, they're pretty good too. But I really just wanted to say that, the need for pickleball courts is, very demanding. And again, there's many times that I've been there, and there's just a lot of people waiting to play. And even though there's 3 levels, one for beginners, one for intermediate, one for advanced, sometimes all 3 areas, they have a long wait. And again, just because I think there's a shortage of pickleball courts there. Thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
I just wanted to make sure it was clear. I know she talked about putting pickleball courts throughout the city, trying to make them even numbers, but kind of locating them throughout. And the problem with that with pickleball is it is social, and the reason that Gibson is packed is because you can show up anytime to play. I know John talked about that, but putting them all over the city, that's what Auburn did. Instead of converting tennis courts that were right there, they just added more pickleball throughout the city. But we all show up to Gibson because there's people there to play with. If I go to a little neighborhood pickleball court, I have to find people. I have to find people that are available at the time that I want to play at, the level I want to play at, that's going to hit it hard at me or not hit it hard at me. You'd be surprised, everyone's has their own preference of what they want on different days. And that is why Gibson is amazing. That is why we're pushing for more courts there, not just more courts in Roseville, but more courts that are all together, because that's what makes Gibson a pull. I play with people from Lincoln, Rockland, people come from Folsom. They come to Gibson because the competition is good. You can go to the level that you want to go to, but the competition is good because people are all coming. You go to random parks that only have 2 courts. You have people that are just starting, or people that have come with a foursome that are amazing and they don't want to play with you. Gibson, it welcomes everyone. You can show up and play with everyone. I didn't know any of these people. I just show up, and now they recognize me. They know my name. It's been such a community. Pickleball is a community. We support each other. And and I know it helps the businesses in Roseville, because people are coming from other cities, they're playing pickleball, and then they're staying to run errands. And I know it's not hurting Johnson Ranch. It helps Johnson Ranch, because I can't afford Johnson Ranch. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I get my kids to school, I go play pickleball, I run my errands in Roseville, and I'm home to pick them up from school. But if I didn't have Gibson to get better, I wouldn't have time or skills or confidence to go play in the tournaments where I pay to play at tournaments at Johnson Ranch. I pay to take lessons at Johnson Ranch. I pay to do the clinics at Johnson Ranch. I can't afford to pay for a membership at Johnson Ranch. So it helps them too. Because if there wasn't Gibson, I wouldn't have the confidence to do that, and I wouldn't have the interest.
Hi, my name is Rena. I just wanted to piggyback on what she said, that since Johnson Ranch and the other gyms offer clinics and training and tournaments, I mean, maybe that's a funding source, a revenue source that the city could look at, is providing all those services and, other possibilities, because we really do love Gibson. I mean, I went to Rush, and it's just not the same. Like she said, there's always somebody to play with you at Gibson. So I know that there's an app where you can find people, Playtime Scheduler, but it's still not the same when, you still have to find somebody. But at Gibson, there's always somebody there. So we just really love Gibson. So thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. We'll close public comments. This item is informational only, and no action is required of the commission. Thank you all. Thank you, Tara.
If I may, I just want to ask staff a question.
Sure.
We could not amend the Gibson Ranch, Gibson
Master plan.
plan tonight, right?
No.
Yeah. It would have to be,
It'd have to be a full outreach process, and frankly, I think because we don't have the funding for a second phase, we may be spending money twice to remaster plan it. So, our thought is to wait until we have the money, and then re-examine it at that point in time.
Well, I'm for examining it at the appropriate time. Obviously, don't want to disappoint these folks here, but I mean, the city attorney will tell us we can't amend the Gibson Ranch master plan tonight, so, but it have to come after a certain amount of analysis and study, correct?
And outreach.
Okay. Thank you, Tara. Okay, next on the agenda is item 6.3, Maidu Museum and Historic Site Overview. Alicia Martinez.
Evening. My name is Alicia Martinez, and I am the new Senior Museum Specialist at the Maidu Museum and Historic Site. I've been at the Maidu Museum approximately 4 months now, and I come to the city of Roseville by way of the city of Walnut Creek, where I was their traveling exhibitions manager for over 10 years. In all, I have 25 years of experience in the art and museum world. I'm excited to be here tonight to give a brief overview of the Maidu Museum and Historic Site. The Maidu Museum and Historic Site is located at 1970 Johnson Ranch Drive in the middle of a residential East Roseville neighborhood. Approximately 2,000 years ago, this region was the homeland of the Nishanan Maidu people. They hunted local wildlife, feasted on nutritious acorns, and carefully managed water resources and the land. For centuries, the Nishanan community thrived and grew until this region became a highly populated area in North America. In the 1800s, however, their population was decimated by upwards of 75% due to the influx of European immigrants and the introduction of various illnesses. The Gold Rush era further displaced the population, but descendants of the Nishanan and all native people, their history and culture still live on today. In the 20th century, President Myron Zentz recognized the importance of the historical site and urged the city to protect it. In the early 1970s, the city agreed to purchase the 30-acre site where the museum now sits, and it was placed on a National Register of Historic Places, protecting it from site development. Today, the site includes a museum, an activity center, an outdoor trail, and amphitheater. The museum is dedicated to the rich history of California's indigenous peoples, and inside you'll find permanent exhibits showcasing traditional practices like acorn processing and basket weaving. Temporary exhibitions feature the work of contemporary Native artists. The museum opened in 2010, and the adjacent Maidu Activity Center next door served as the museum's original location between 2001 and 2009. Outside, visitors can take a stroll along the trail to see hundreds of ancient bedrock mortars. We have over 500 on site, fascinating petroglyphs that are quite mysterious, and a variety of native plants and wildlife. Informational signs are posted throughout the site. The mission of the Maidu Museum and Historic Site is to protect, preserve, and interpret the cultural and natural heritage of the Maidu Historic Site and region, while providing programs, exhibits, and services that stimulate visitor involvement, enjoyment, learning, and support. In fiscal year 2024, we were visited by over 13,000 people. How do we interpret the past? The Maidu Museum works collaboratively with our Native Advisory Committee on the interpretive text used in the museum and throughout the site to ensure cultural and historical accuracy. We strive at MMHS to produce honest and respectful interpretive materials. We also consult with the Native Advisory Committee on exhibitions and programming, as their input is critical to our collective success. We offer an array of educational programming at MMHS. Our tour program is very popular amongst regional schools, particularly for 3rd and 4th grade classes as they learn about California history. In fiscal year 2024, we served over 5,200 students. Private tours for adult groups are available upon request, and we offer a drop-in family-friendly tour every Saturday at 10 a.m., which is complimentary with admission. Throughout the year, we also offer a range of hands-on workshops for youth and adults, like beading and basket making. In the summer, and occasionally in the spring, we offer several week-long day camps for kids. Our art and cultural offerings provide opportunities for Native artists and performers to showcase their work. We host craft fairs, contemporary art exhibitions, and related programs like lectures, tours, book readings, and workshops. Dancers, storytellers, and musicians are also celebrated at annual events. Throughout the year, we host several special events, including our annual plant sale, native craft fair, and Yeoman, an annual April event that celebrates the start of spring. We also offer ongoing programs like our popular evening rock art mystery tours and campfires where visitors of all ages have the chance to roast marshmallows while listening to Indigenous stories. On site, you'll also find our unique gift shop with one-of-a-kind gifts like handmade native jewelry, art, books, crafts, and more. And we provide ample volunteer opportunities, from giving tours as docents to working the land with our restoration crew. The restoration crew removes non-native plants and keeps trails safe and clear. We are currently seeking volunteers for our April 26th event, Yeoman, a celebration of spring. Interested parties may sign up on our website, roseville.ca.us/museum. And speaking of Yeoman, I invite you all to attend. The event is on Saturday, April 26th from 10 to 3 p.m. Admission is free, and we would love your support. It's a fun family event. Thank you very much, and please let me know if you have any questions.
We'll open it up for commissioner comment. How many volunteers do you currently have? Does it change frequently or monthly or?
Actually, we're in the throes of recruiting new volunteers. Unfortunately, COVID-19 decimated our volunteer workforce, so we had approximately 10 when I started about 4 months ago, but we're in the throes of doubling that at the moment. So we have many going through training, so hoping to build upon that.
What type of hours do you use volunteers? Like their shifts, or do they just come one day?
There are shifts, yes. Our docents work our morning youth tours, and we give upwards of 3 a day, Monday through Friday. It's a very popular program. And docents work anywhere from a minimum of 3 hours a month on up.
And the tours, are those like school kids?
Yes,
Oh, okay,
primarily
nice.
3rd and 4th grade as they're learning about California history.
Nice.
I have a question. Is there an age requirement for volunteers?
There isn't. There is, we welcome youth volunteers with parent approval, but it does require a time commitment. Training is quite lengthy, and then, again, we require at least 3 hours a month and a year-long commitment if you'd like to be a docent. We do offer opportunities to work our special events like Yeoman, that's a one-day event, and our restoration crew works every Thursday for a couple of hours.
Thank you.
How do you typically market this to the region and to the community?
Well, working through the city's marketing department, of course, but we also work with our Native Advisory Committee and market through the local tribes as well. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, okay. We'll open it up for public comment. Any public comment? Okay. We'll close public comment. This item is informational only. No action is required of the commission. Thank you, Alicia. Next on the agenda is item 6.4, CAPRA accreditation. Jill Geller?
Commissioners. Again, I'm Jill Geller, your Parks, Recreation, and Libraries Director, and I wanted to share some information on a project that has been a goal for PRL for some time. And you're going to hear me say PRL a lot, so for your new commissioners, that's Parks, Recreation, and Libraries, so there will be a lot of acronyms, I'm sure, over the course of your years. But anyway, this has been a goal for PRL for some time, and actually we've been working on it for several years with a really concentrated focus over these last few months. It's called CAPRA accreditation, and CAPRA is the Commission for Accreditation of Park and Recreation Agencies. Some of you may have accreditation in your field, so you have an understanding that it's quite a rigorous undertaking. So let me begin by sharing that there are more than 10,000 park and recreation agencies in the nation, and only 214 of those are accredited. So we would love for Roseville Parks, Recreation, and Libraries to be among that elite 2% of park and recreation agencies. There are only 5 accredited agencies in the entire state of California. So what is accreditation and why do we care? You can see from this slide that it's a process of self-assessment that helps us evaluate and ensure that we're operating efficiently and effectively. We want to provide the Roseville community with the highest level of service, and we want to follow best practices. So if we become accredited, why do we want to do that? Well, it ensures that we demonstrate, it ensures that we're meeting national standards of best practices. It improves our operations and our efficiencies. It enhances staff teamwork and pride. It creates an environment for our regular review of operations, policies, and procedures, and it promotes our continual improvement. We think our residents deserve the best here in Roseville, and so PRL is always striving for constant and continuous improvement within our department. The process of applying for accreditation, just the process of applying, has already made us better. It's helped us establish some new practices and processes and ways of doing things. So as I mentioned, accreditation is awarded by the Commission for Accreditation of Park and Recreation Agencies. You can see their logo here. And this is a branch of the National Recreation and Park Association. It is a park and recreation industry accreditation, and as you know, we are a Parks, Recreation, and Libraries department, so we were proud to use a lot of examples from our outstanding libraries and our museum, which we feel helped to even boost our self-assessment. The self-assessment is divided into 10 chapters to tell you a little bit more about the process, and for each process there are several standards. The process is such that we write a narrative for each standard describing how we meet that standard, and then we attach what's called evidence of compliance, which is additional documentation that shows how we met the standard. For example, one of the standards in Chapter 2, which is planning, is that the agency must have an approved master plan reviewed regularly and containing some financial information. So we wrote a narrative about our master plan process, when we completed it, who was involved, and so on. And then as evidence, we attached our master plan, we attached the executive summary, the financial analysis, staff's process for annual review, and the city council resolution that approved the plan. So you can see that each standard has multiple of attached documents that we provide as evidence of compliance. There are a total of 154 standards. So we wrote 154 narratives, and in total we attached 882 documents as evidence of compliance of how we met those many standards. So you'll see on this slide that some of the standards are considered fundamental. To become accredited, we must meet all of the fundamental standards. There are 36 of those, and we must meet 90% of the remaining standards. So the 10 chapters are shown on this slide and the next slide. Chapter 1, as you can see, is agency authority, role, and responsibility. There's 4 standards in that chapter, with 6 of those being fundamental. The second chapter is on planning. You can see the number of standards and how many are fundamental. The third chapter is organization and administration. The fourth chapter is human resources. Chapter 5 is financial management. Chapter 6 is about programs and services management. Chapter 7 is about facility and land use management. Chapter 8 is public safety. Chapter 9 is risk management. And Chapter 10 is evaluation, assessment, and research. So the CAPRA review team that's looking at all of our documentation right now is made up of 3 trained park and recreation professionals from across the country. There are many CAPRA reviewers throughout the nation. Our team has representatives from Illinois, Colorado, and Oregon. And this review team is currently taking a look at our narratives and our evidence of compliance, and they'll be reaching out to us with questions or comments. But then they'll visit Roseville the week of April 28th, at which time they'll visit our facilities, meet with staff, and continue to review and or ask questions about our submission. They will then make a recommendation to the National CAPRA Board as to whether or not we should be accredited. The CAPRA Board reviews their recommendations, and then we attend a hearing at the National Recreation and Park Association Conference in September in Orlando, Florida, at which time we'll learn officially whether we receive accreditation or not. So I know that was a lot of information, but since this was such a huge project for our department and such an undertaking and would be such an achievement if we pass, we certainly wanted you to have an understanding of this process. And I welcome any questions you might have.
Opening up for Commissioner questions.
In general, the last 4 years, obviously, we've been a finalist for the gold medal, award, which I want you to get so bad in my last 2 years. Were those all those other parks that have the departments that have won in the last few years, were they all accredited?
They were, and they say for the gold medal, you don't have, being accredited is not a requirement, but if ever it was to come down between two agencies, that was a tie, this would be the deciding factor. So we know this will be helpful to us. So we'll see where we land with the gold medal this year. But I will tell you, having gone through both processes many times, the gold medal is wonderful, and it's a great recognition for all the work that we do. Accreditation really makes us better. It makes us look at our processes, look how we're doing things, and like I said, we've already seen some improvements just through the application process.
It's great. Good luck, everybody. You deserve it. You really deserve it.
So it's obviously a huge undertaking just to apply for the accreditation. What is the renewal timeframe? What's the maintenance process over, if we get accredited, how does that then translate into future work?
Yeah, that is a great question. And there is an annual report that is due, and it's really quite simple. They just ask you a few questions. Are you still doing this? Are you still doing this? Just to make sure you're staying on track. But reaccreditation is every 5 years. So 5 years from now, we would be going through the reaccreditation process. And again, I will tell you, reaccreditation is much easier because we would simply be updating the work that we've already done. We had to create a lot of things and implement a lot of practices to meet the accreditation standards now. In 5 years, we'll just be reviewing and updating.
Who on the staff is working on this whole plan? Is it the whole team, or is somebody dedicated to, just working on this CAPRA?
No, we didn't have anyone dedicated. Like I said, we've really been working on it for several years. I had been through the process before at my previous agency, and so I had a good understanding of some of the things that we didn't have here at Roseville that we might need. So we've been implementing things over the past 5 years. But like I said, the last few months, it's been really concentrated. So we really had a team of people that were working on it. Different staff were assigned different chapters, and then, of course, they had to reach out to staff to get the documentation and information that they needed.
You guys are so busy as it is. I can't imagine, having to, this is a lot of work. So that's great. Wow.
I think this is a tremendous opportunity to market the department. I mean, obviously, we're all hoping that you get accreditation, and I have no doubt that you will. But I think this is an opportunity to kind of showcase, being in the top 2%. Look at all the things that we have here in Roseville that you might not have where, you live if you're not in Roseville. So I don't know. I just, I had some, initially I was going to ask some questions about maybe what some of the specific standards were that had to be met, and then the numbers just sort of blew me away, so I don't want to ask that anymore. But I would love to know.
I have a list of all 54 if you'd like me to read those off.
No thanks. But I would love to kind of maybe think about how we can use this as a way to, market the department, because you deserve it.
Thank you. I totally agree.
How many parks and rec in California are accredited?
There are 5.
5, okay.
And it's the San Diego County, Riverside County, Jurupa, Cosumnes, and who am I forgetting? Hopefully it will come to me before this meeting is over.
The number was fine. I was just curious.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Is Cosumnes the only other regionally Okay.
Yes.
And this is the first time PRL has ever applied for accreditation, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Do you know how many people or how many agencies in California are applying for accreditation?
I am not aware of any that are going through the process right now, but I can't state that for a fact.
How long will they be here the week of April 28th?
So we don't have that information yet, but I'm assuming it'll be 2 or 3 days. They're not here for the entire week, and there's a lot of work to get done in a very short period of time with them, so it'll be a busy few days, and especially for them.
Yeah. Any other commissioner comments, questions? Okay, we'll open it up for public comment. Is there any public comment? Oh, there we go.
To bring their pickleball paddles.
I know you all would make a very good impression on them to show them what Roseville really is.
Okay, we'll close public comments. This item is informational only and no action is required of the commission. Thank you, Jill, for your presentation. We'll all wish you much luck. Okay, moving on to the next one. Board member, commissioner, staff report. Are there any reports from staff?
Just very short ones. Mackenzie put a Experience PRL magazine in front of all of you because that's the best way to tell you all of the things that are going on in our department right now. Staff are very busy. This shows our many offerings from January through May for the new commissioners. This comes out 3 times annually. So this, like I said, is January through May. We will have another one for June through August. And then our third one is September through December. Right now, we're working on our fiscal year 26 budget, so staff have been very busy with that process as well, and as well as busy with programs, taking care of our parks, and gearing up for our busy spring and summer seasons. So that's all I have.
It was weird to do this in February, but we didn't meet last month, so just wanted to congratulate you and your team on a very successful holiday season and all the events you put on. My family went to several of them. We enjoyed all of them that we went to, so thank you.
I just had a couple comments. I noticed, because I live over there, Caseberry Park, there butts up against, because I work for the school district, they're putting in a sidewalk.
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
We haven't been able to get close enough to see what it was.
What happened was when the school put up their security fencing, they cut off a section of the loop, so we're rebuilding it outside the fence.
Well, as one who walks her dogs regularly through the park, when we put up the fences, it affected me walking my dog, so I thought that was fantastic. And then I just was curious, because I drive down Main Street quite often, and the park looks great. Weber? When do we have an idea when we're going to do a?
We would like to open it soon. One of the things that occurred is we had some rains during construction, which was fortunate for us because there's a drainage issue that we're trying to resolve.
Okay.
Everything, we cut down that one side and it's all flowing to one spot. So we're working to rectify that to ensure, because when water sits on concrete, it grows algae and it's slippery, so we don't want to open it with a safety issue, so we're addressing that as soon as we can. We're hoping sometime in February, end of February, fingers crossed that we can resolve that and open up the park.
It looks great.
We likely would not have the dedication, though, probably until April, so certainly
Okay.
you'll all be invited to our park dedications, and we have a few that we're dedicating this year, right, Tara?
Yeah, we're going to have Denio Family Park, as well as Weber. Right? We're also working on Johnson Pool renovations, full renovations. That's exciting as well. So some major renovations.
And that's looking good, too. I drive by that almost every day.
Yeah, we're making progress. We're also going to be opening, let's see, what else? Bayou Park, we're in the middle of construction right now, so hopefully if we get some warm weather, we can finish it in the next 3 or 4 months. As well as we're going to start Campus Oaks Phase 2, where we're able to put in skate track, BMX, and what we're calling our Ninja Style Fitness Challenge course.
Oh,
so that's
fun.
very exciting.
Good.
And then this little thing called the
Oh,
Placer
yeah.
Valley Soccer Complex
Soccer
that will open late this year.
Oh, it will? Oh, exciting.
And any hope of a dedication ceremony the week of April 28th, maybe?
I don't know that we could fit it in. Sounds good, but I don't know.
Question, have you been in contact with John Bayou's family?
Not yet. We won't contact them until we know closer to when we're going to finish.
Yeah, I haven't seen him around for the longest time, so.
We have talked to, I believe, one of the daughters.
He has a daughter, yeah.
So we have talked with them.
Yeah. John was a good friend of mine.
Anybody else? Okay, so that means we are in motion to adjourn, and we have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the February 3rd, 2025 Parks and Recreation Commission meeting is adjourned at 7:16 PM. Thank you.